sure that's properly covered today. You had the building to the side. And one thing we did, and Chairman Kelly and ranking member had us go to the scene, which I thought was invaluable, because it's one thing to read 110 feet. It's quite another when all of us were on top of the rooftop to realize how close this person was.
And Mr. Trump is set to pay tribute to those injured and killed during the previous Butler rally in July when that assassination attempt took place. Recovery efforts, meantime, well underway in North Carolina. This following Storm and Hurricane Helene. Fox Weather's Brandy Campbell in Asheville.
You have propane cars or train cars that are tipped over on their sides and other propane tanks that are in the area, tossed around, and they're trying to empty them. So currently burning off the fuel that could take a couple of days, but surrounding this is just a lot of destruction from the water. So right now we are standing just above the Swannanoa River, one of the main reasons we are seeing such devastation here. This river rose to up to 26.1 feet last Friday. So now you can see debris in the trees. There are cars in the river. There could be hazards in terms of the water quality. That's something they're working with the EPA to test.
And the city of Asheville is not recommending people drink creek water. Man, many residents, officials say, may have trouble getting access to clean drinking water for weeks. America's listening to Fox News.
Interesting people are talking to Will Kane.
I said, what do I call you? I call you Dwayne. I call you The Rock. He said, now that I own it, I can call you The Rock.
Yes, I own it now. You can call me The Rock.
Our next guest needs no introduction. It is Dr. Jordan Peters, my old friend and frenemy, Stephen A. Smith.
What is going on here? I see the Will Kane show in the background. I see the microphone.
Watch it live at noon Eastern, Monday through Thursday on FoxNews.com. And get the podcast 5 days a week at FoxNewsPodcasts.com or wherever you download your favorite podcasts. From the Fox News Podcasts Network, the Fox News Rundown, a contrast of perspectives you won't hear anywhere else. Your daily dose of news twice a day, going far beyond the headlines, tapping into the massive reporting resources of Fox News to provide a full picture of the news of the day.
I'm Dana Perino.
I'm Brett Baer.
I'm Maria Bartiromo.
I'm Brian Kilmeade, and this is the Fox News Rundown.
Subscribe and listen now by going to FoxNewsPodcasts.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Concerns are growing.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level. On the go.
Why they're investigating. I'm Sasha Nixon. Here's what's trending this hour. Indy Metro Police are investigating after someone died in the 5300 block of Culver Street early Saturday morning. Officers believe the man had been shot and he was pronounced dead at the scene. At this time, it is not clear what led to the shooting. Specific information about the victim has not yet been provided. And millions of dollars worth of cocaine was seized from a car wash on the east side. Kurt Darling reports.
Federal agents had been watching the car wash, which is owned by Derek Griffin. Things came to a head last week when a shooting happened near the car wash at 34th and Emerson. That led to police officers searching the car wash when they smelled pot inside. That's when they also found 50 pounds of cocaine and also a lot of heroin. Griffin is being detained. Kirk Darling, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
But a fall festival starting Monday in Evansville is not just one of the best in the state, but one of the best in the country. Terry Stacy explains.
USA Today says it is the best fall festival in the nation, the 103rd West Side Nut Club Fall Festival in Evansville.
The amount of people that come down here, I believe it's over 250,000. We have 120 plus food booths, and every one of those booths is a non-for-profit. It is strictly remarkable how much this brings to our economy from the nonprofit sector.
Brandon McClish says the festival runs October 7th through the 12th.
That's WIBC's Terry Stacy. On the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com. Now here's the forecast from the American Standard Cooling Weather Center.
We're mostly clear tonight. Might get a little breezy overnight. A low down to 61. Sunday, partly cloudy, breezy. A little bit cooler, more seasonable as we open up the new work week. I'm Wish TV Storm Track A meteorologist Marcus Bailey for 93 WIBC.
Have you lost Indiana Medicaid? At healthcare.gov, you can find a low-cost quality health plan.
Do plans cover doctor visits?
What about emergency care?
And prescriptions?
All covered and more. Plus, with the new law, 4 out of 5 customers can find a plan for $10 or less per month with financial help. Healthcare.gov is here for you. Enroll today for coverage starting the 1st of next month. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Hey, y'all, I'm Blake Shelton. Being from Oklahoma, I know a thing or two about natural disasters. Tornadoes are common where I'm from and have affected my life and the lives of people I care about. No matter where you live, be aware of the dangers in your area and have a plan. You can create an emergency kit, come up with an evacuation plan, and know where to seek shelter. You never know when a disaster may hit. These simple steps can help save a life. This message is brought to you by the U.S. Air Force.
Can you hear me? So can your customers. Get your message heard. Text business to 71007 now. Get results with Radio 1.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This is the Second Amendment, and this is the Gun Guy.
Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, bang, bang.
With Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
Well, good afternoon and welcome to the Gun Guy Show here on 93 WIBC. I'm thrilled that you're with us. I was out last week. I was getting ready for trial. I was in a federal jury trial all week in federal court in downtown Indianapolis. So I've had a long week, and I'm looking forward to resting up a little bit here coming up this next week. But I miss being on the radio, and sorry that I couldn't bring the show to you last week. But hey, we're moving forward. We're going to make up for it. I was reading reports of an Omaha man, and there's a lot of concern about this. I think this is going to be very much put under a microscope. But a man in Omaha was shot by police, shot 8 times, killed after a traffic stop. And the report is, and I think there is still information coming in on this. This just happened this past week. And a person was just pulled over for expired plates. I mean, a very minor transgression, relatively speaking. He gets pulled over for expired plates and gets out of the vehicle. And listen, it's always a bad idea. Let me just tell you, it's not a good idea. You get pulled over by police, stay in the vehicle. If they ask you to step out, okay. But a police officer will naturally perceive it as a threat if you get out of the vehicle. It's just not a wise decision. And we can talk about whether, a police officer is exerting too much influence on you and your freedom by requiring you to stay in the vehicle, but that's a whole nother discussion. In terms of your personal safety and in terms of being prudent under the circumstances, I would tell you it's just a good idea to stay in a vehicle. So in this case, a gentleman, Mr. Phipps, gets out of the car, and police officers are immediately concerned, and police officers later reported that when he got out of the car, they saw the outline of a handgun in the pocket of his hoodie. And this is, again, Stephen Phipps, a 22-year-old African-American gentleman, and he gets out of the car. He supposedly has the outline of a gun, as reported by officers, in the pocket of his hoodie, and for some unknown reason decides he's going to run. He's going to flee. He's going to flee the traffic stop. So he takes off running. Police, understandably at this point, are very concerned about the fact that he's both running and apparently in possession of a firearm. And at some point, the gun comes out of the pocket. He's scaling a chain link fence. And as he's going over the fence, officers see the gun pointed in their direction. Was he intending to fire it at them? Did it just happen to point at the officers because he's going over a fence? Those are questions that are as yet unanswered. But once the gun is pointed at officers, one of the 2 officers involved shoots Stephen Phipps 8 times, and he's killed. And now the police are under a lot of scrutiny And the fact that this is a black man is part of the discussion. But all of this, in reading all of this, and I think, again, that there has been some body cam video released that seems to confirm the fact that the gun at some point is pointed at the officers. But all of this, and as I'm reading this, and the police chief, by the way, came out and defended the officers and said it's absolutely consistent with the law and consistent with policy that officers use deadly force in this situation, and shot this man who had a gun in his hand who's fleeing the police after a traffic stop. But then some anti-gun people now have come out, and Nebraska has recently, just a year ago or so, has passed constitutional carry. And of course, the anti-gun people are coming out now, and they're blaming constitutional carry, going, oh, well, yeah, if it wasn't for constitutional carry, this guy wouldn't have had a gun. On the other side of the equation, the Nebraska version of the constitutional carry law, and if you haven't heard that term, constitutional carry, what are we talking about? We're talking about the ability to carry a gun without a license. And we were able to get that passed here in Indiana in 2022. It's something I worked on for 10 years. If you listen to the Gun Guy Show, you well know what a struggle that was. And to get our own Republican leadership in the General Assembly with a supermajority in both houses to step up and protect Hoosiers' constitutional rights, specifically our rights under the Second Amendment, was a hell of a struggle for a damn long time. But we got that passed in 2022. Nebraska's version of constitutional carry, which again allows a law-abiding citizen, if you're a felon, it doesn't apply to you. You're a domestic batterer, it doesn't apply to you. You're addicted to or a user of illegal drugs, it doesn't apply to you. There are a number of disqualifications in the statute. So if you were prohibited from possessing a firearm before, if you were prohibited from carrying a gun before, you're still prohibited from possessing or carrying a gun. That's constitutional carry. It doesn't change how you acquire a gun. It doesn't change where you can carry a gun. It doesn't change who's legally prohibited from carrying a gun. It just says a law-abiding citizen who's not prohibited by state or federal law from carrying a gun, possessing a gun, can carry a gun without going to the government and saying, pretty please, oh, exalted government, may I please exercise my constitutional right under the Second Amendment. That's the concept behind constitutional carry. And by the way, a little war story here. The year we finally got constitutional carry passed, I was testifying on behalf or in favor of constitutional carry in the Senate Judiciary Committee in the Indiana General Assembly. And the Indiana General Assembly Judiciary Committee in the Senate is chaired by one Liz Brown, Senator Liz Brown, a Republican, quote unquote. She is certainly no friend of the Second Amendment, I will tell you with no hesitation whatsoever. But she chairs that Judiciary Committee, and we needed to get the bill through her committee to have a chance to get it passed. And she has killed the bill in the past. And in fact, in her committee in 2022, she tried very, very hard to kill it again. And we ended up having to circumvent her in ways that were probably boring to tell. But because Senator Rod Bragg, the president pro tem of the Indiana Senate, actually stepped up and very much assisted in the process of having the bill ultimately passed. But in the meantime, we're fighting like hell, and we're trying to get this thing through Liz Brown's committee. And I was one of the first people to testify. And as I stood up, I said, well, I'm here to support constitutional carry because, and she interrupts me. I'm like 4 words into my presentation in the Judiciary Committee, and she interrupts me and she says, well, I have a problem with that term. And I said, I'm sorry, what term? I mean, it was actually something I should have been able to figure out because I'm only about 4 words into my discussion. And she said, I have a problem with that term. And I said, well, what's that? She said, constitutional carry. And I said, okay, Madam Chair, why is that? And she said, well, are you saying that the requirement of a license in Indiana to carry a handgun is unconstitutional? And I said, well, Senator, I personally believe that it is, but the courts in Indiana disagree with me on that point. And all the way back in 1980, the Indiana Court of Appeals decision, which is Schubert versus DeBard, said as long as it's a shall issue system, meaning if you're eligible, you're not a prohibited possessor, you meet the eligibility requirements under the statute, then you get a license to carry. In other words, there's no discretion by some bureaucrat sitting in a basement in front of a computer to scratch his or her chin and say, yes, you're eligible to carry a gun, or you're allowed to carry a gun, or you have a sufficient need to carry a gun, which is a may issue system as opposed to a shall issue system. The court said as long as it's a shall issue system, meaning you're eligible, you get a license to carry a handgun. There's no discretion involved. There's no evaluation of who really needs to exercise their constitutional right. Why? Because it's a damn constitutional right. But the court said a license requirement in and of itself is not unconstitutional as long as it's a shall issue system. So, and that's exactly what I said to Senator Liz Brown in the Senate Judiciary Committee. I said, courts disagree with me, and they say it's okay to have a license requirement as long as it's a shall issue system. And she said, so our system currently today, our law currently today that requires a license is not unconstitutional. And I said, the courts have said it's not, Senator. At which point she said, well, then you shouldn't be calling this constitutional carry because the current system requiring a license is also constitutional. So constitutional carry suggests that the requirement of a license is unconstitutional. And I said, Madam Chair, with respect, you misunderstand the term. The use of the term constitutional carry is not to suggest that the current system is unconstitutional. What it means is that the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution and Article 1, Section 32 of the Indiana Constitution, which I always describe, if you're a longtime listener of the Gun Guy Show, you've heard me say this many times. The Indiana Constitution in Article 1, Section 32 is elegant in its simplicity. It says, the people shall have the right to bear arms for the defense of themselves and the state. That's it. No discussion of well-regulated militia or necessary for the security of a free state, the things that are in the preamble of the Second Amendment. It just says the people shall have the right to bear arms. What does the word bear mean? Carry. So the people shall have the right to carry a firearm for the defense of themselves in the state of Indiana. That's it. Boom. Done. So I said, if both the United States Constitution and the Indiana Constitution both guarantee me, they protect my right, they don't grant me my right, God gives me my inherent rights. Endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. Remember those words? That's right out of the Declaration of Independence. But the Second Amendment in Article 1, Section 32 of the Indiana Constitution protect my right against infringement by the government. So if I have an unalienable right to possess a firearm, carry a firearm, under both the Second Amendment and the Indiana Constitution, why do I have to go to the government and say, oh, please, government, give me permission to exercise a right I already have? I've been saying for years, a license is simply the process by which the government sells back to you a right you already had. So I don't need a license from the government because the Constitution is my license, thus constitutional carry. Now, Liz Brown didn't like that answer very much. And ultimately, despite her fervent efforts to kill constitutional carry in her committee, she did successfully for a short time. We later went around her. We actually inserted the language of the constitutional carry bill into another bill, went around her completely, and got it passed, 2022. But how does this all relate to this shooting back in Omaha? And why are people blaming constitutional carry when somebody runs from the police and ends up getting shot? I'll go into all of that and take your calls. We're going to talk about traffic stops. And I'll tell you what I'd really like to hear. I'd really like to hear from folks who have been pulled over with a gun in the car. And I want to hear how that went. I want to hear, did you tell the cop there was a gun in the car? How did the cop react? How'd it go for this traffic stop? Was the gun an issue at all during your traffic stop? If you have experience in this, and listen, I've talked to a lot of people. A lot of people have called my office, my law office, and wanted to know whether an officer complied with the law or not, depending on what that officer did during that traffic stop. The questions the officer asked, the demands the officer made relative to the gun. We're going to get into all those issues, but I really want to take your calls and get your experiences. If you've had that experience, give us a call, 317-239-9393. That's 317-239-9393. By the way, you can also join us on YouTube. Go to YouTube, search for The Gun Guy, WIBC. You can see a video feed. I always say the same thing. I'm not much to look at, but hey, it's there, and there's a chat feature, and you can join the discussion. And sometimes I don't have a lot of time during the show to see what's going on in the chat, but if there are things going on, you can ask me a question on there. If you're too shy to give us a call here in the studio, but give us a call, 317-239-9393. Producer Jack will get you right on the air, and we'll have a discussion. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Tony Katz.
You're not married, right?
No.
After a certain time being married, you realize that sleeping in separate beds, a genius idea.
Well, that's just not very romantic at all.
Oh, we're not talking about romance. We're talking about rest. And if you want something that's not romantic, be in a relationship where nobody's getting any rest. By the way, my wife and I do not have separate beds. She can't get enough of me.
Tony Katz, mornings 6 to 9 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Guy Relford for Indiana Gun Club. Indiana Gun Club is Indiana's premier shotgun club. It's actually where I learned to shoot sporting clays here just a few years ago. They've got sporting clays, trap, skeet. They can host your fundraiser, your corporate event, and any other event you might want to have. I'll tell you, I've been to a bunch of fundraisers out there, and it's a lot of fun. They'll supply shotguns and shells. They can cater the event. They can bring in beautifully prepared meals. I've been to several catered events out there. Their events coordinator, Gordon Gamilla, is a friend of mine. He's also a trained chef and one of the best barbecue guys out there. Been out there, I've had his pulled pork, his grilled chicken, and a whole bunch more. He'll cater the meal, and Indiana Gun Club will set you up for a fundraiser. And in that regard, coming up on the 15th, they're having a great fundraiser for St. Jude Children's Hospital. And the Risk Group, corporate group, is actually sponsoring this, but you can participate. You want to get more information, you'd like to go out in Indiana Gun Club. By the way, no experience required. You don't have to be a member. They'll go out there. They'll make sure you're safe. They'll make sure that you have a good time. And it's just a really wonderful atmosphere out there. Go out and shoot some sporting clays on a beautiful fall day. That's coming up on October 15th for St. Jude's Children's Hospital. You can check that out at indianagunclub.com. Just click on events, and then you'll see an October calendar there. You go down to the 15th. You can click right on the Risk corporate event, which is a fundraiser for St. Jude's Children's Hospital. What a great day what a great way to spend a Tuesday shooting sporting clays, raising money for Children's Hospital. Doesn't get any better than that. Check that out at indianagunclub.com and tell them the Gun Guy sent you. This is Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
As the summer fades and the cool breeze of fall sets in, it's the perfect time to get back to the basics, especially when it comes to your financial future. At Howard Bailey Financial, we believe in simplifying your retirement plan. Our team of advisors help you build a customized retirement strategy that is designed to help reduce risk, increase income, and mitigate tax. Whether you're just starting out or looking to refine your plan, we're here to guide you every step of the way. It's never too early or too late to make sure your financial future is secure. Text BASICS to 888-262-1104 to download your complimentary retirement planning toolkit today. That's BASICS to 888-262-1104. Howard Bailey Financial. Back to the basics. Forward to your future. Howard Bailey Securities, LLC is an independent financial services firm and uses a variety of different investment strategies. Please see disclosures at howardbailey.com.
Hi, my name is Carter Booker, and I'm a member of Tabernacle Presbyterian Church. I came to TAB over 15 years ago looking for a group of people who took seriously the teachings of Jesus. especially the teaching that we should love our neighbors as ourselves. What did I find? I found a community giving their resources to support a local school, to strengthen the health and well-being of a neighborhood, to mentor and guide young people through athletics, and the list could go on and on. If you believe it is important to love your neighbor, then TAB is the place for you. I'm Carter Booker, and I invite you to come and see for yourself.
Tabernacle Presbyterian Church, 34th Street and Central Avenue in Indianapolis, invites you to worship Sunday morning at 8 or 10 a.m. If you can't make it in person, tune in to Sunday with Tab, Sunday mornings at 6:30 on WIBC, or find us online at tabpres.org.
Nobody cares for you like family. Family Heating and Air.
Hi, this is Malia with Family Heating and Air, and as a mom myself, I know it's really important to keep the kiddos healthy. Air quality, humidity, those are super big issues on my concern list. If you share any of these concerns, give family a call, 317-577-8077.
Family Heating and Air is your trusted local independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
They are our cuddlers and coworkers, purr machines and love bugs, and constant companions. They are our pets, our family, and they make life so much better. When we face unexpected challenges in life, so do our pets. That's why we're on a mission to support people who love their pets and the pets who love their people, ensuring these families stay exactly where they belong, together. And you have something to offer. With an open heart and mind, there is nothing you can't do. There's no gesture too small or too big when it comes to helping. Whether donating a bag of kibble, sharing an Instagram post of a lost cat, or welcoming a foster pet into your home, every bit of kindness counts. You can help keep pets and people together. Visit petsandpeopletogether.org to learn how to be a helper in your community. This has been a public service announcement brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Together, we can provide 1 billion meals by 2030, because everyone should be welcome at the table. Learn more at nourishingneighbors.com.
No Kid Hungry is providing healthy meals and hope to hungry kids so they can build better futures. Learn more at helpnokidhungry.org.
Second to none on the Second Amendment. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. And I'm talking about this event that happened in Omaha, Nebraska, where a guy got pulled over for expired plates. Minor deal. Ends up getting shot 8 times and he's dead. And so I want to get into the detail, applying Indiana law, what the rules really are. Because he was shot because he apparently had a gun, and according to police, and I haven't seen all the video yet, but according to police, apparently pulled a gun out of his pocket at some point while running from the traffic stop and was ultimately shot by one officer 8 times, and he's dead. So I want to talk about traffic stops, what the rules are. But in the meantime, what I've done is ask people to call in with their stories. If you've been pulled over by police with a gun in the car, that can be, and listen, I'm going to tell you some of my stories. I may drive just a bit faster than I probably should. I've got a car that's a lot of fun to drive, and sometimes while I'm having a little fun driving it, I may go a bit beyond the speed suggestions posted around the roads of Indiana, which has led to me getting pulled over. I have a really good radar detector, but it's not infallible, and I believe it or not, this will be a shocker, but if I get pulled over in my car, there's a very good chance, in fact, about 100% chance, there's a gun in the car. So I have some personal experience with this too. And so I've asked people to call in, tell their stories. I would like to hear from people. And then here during the show, I'm going to go into exactly what the law says about what the rules are about what you do or don't have to do during a traffic stop if you happen to have a gun in the car. For instance, a lot of states have what's called a duty to disclose. You got to tell the cop. It's a law. It's a law. It's a legal requirement. You don't tell the cop, then it's a crime. Well, does that exist in Indiana? What are the law enforcement officers authorizations. What can he do or she do? Can he or she as a police officer order you to give them your gun during a traffic stop? Can they take possession of it? A lot of officers will say, well, I need to do that for officer safety. Is that legal? Can they get you out of the car, search your car, looking for that gun and take possession of it because they need to do that during the stop for their safety? We'll get into all those legal issues here in just a bit, but in the meantime, I want to go to the phone lines and get some people's stories that have gone through this. Frank, welcome to the Gun Guy Show.
Hi, Guy. Back in, it had to have been 1984 and 85, I was still selling cars, and I was getting on to I-65 from in Maryville, just south of Gary.
Uh-huh.
And traffic was bad, and I was driving a Plymouth Horizon, so it had an open glass hatchback, and there was, I don't know, half a dozen gun cases back there. And
were they your gun cases, or was this a car from the dealership?
Well, it was a car from the dealership, but I had my gun cases in there because.
Okay, so they're your gun cases.
Right. And
okay.
I was taking my brother and his friend and myself. We were going to go sight in these guns. I had muzzleloader I had built and a few guns. It was before hunting season. So, like I said, there was half a dozen. I had one teenager in the seat next to me and one teenager in the seat next to these guns, and I was pulled over by a state trooper. Really good-looking black guy, looked for all the life of me, looked just like a Marine drill instructor. And he pulled me over because I had crossed over the line. When I saw an open space, I popped into that line with the traffic being what it was, and I did. I crossed over the, like on an entrance ramp when the line. Yeah. Tells you when you. Well, I did it a little early, and he pulled me right over, and I pulled right over. And he said, "Do you know why I pulled you over?" And we went through that, and I told him, "Yeah." I said, "I this is what I did." And the second question he asked was, he goes, "What have you got in the back of the car?" And I said, "Guns."
And what response did you get?
But I knew I didn't. You can. If you want to, you can argue with police officers or whatever, but it seems very stupid when he can see that I've got gun cases back there. I mean, rifle cases,
Yeah.
So I said guns, and he said, "What you doing with all those guns?" And I said, "We're going to the gun range to go sight them in and everything."
Makes sense to me.
And you know what? That was it. There was no. He didn't ask me anything anymore. The only thing that had me worried was I also had a huge hunting knife on my hip, in my where he could see it. But see, when he pulled me over, I rolled down all the windows so that he could see into the car, and I kept my hands where I could see him, and I didn't give him a lot of guff. I gave him no reason,
right,
to think that I was gonna. That I was anything other than cooperative.
Yeah, and Frank, if I had to guess, I bet you were at 10-2 on the wheel with your hands too, weren't you?
Yeah, I was. It was more like 11-1 because I wanted to make sure.
Hey, that works. That's all right. Yeah, you just got to be in the general area. And listen, I'm glad that you had that experience. I love the fact that this officer. And by the way, I've got some similar stories that I'm going to share here in just a bit. I love the fact that this officer not only looked like a Marine drill instructor, but obviously a good guy who realizes you're just a citizen exercising your constitutional right. He pulls you over for an incredibly minor traffic offense, if it's an offense at all. And hey, didn't overreact. That's a fabulous thing, and it's a great story, and I appreciate you calling and sharing it. We're going to go back to the phone lines. We're a little past the bottom of the hour. It's time to take a break. By the way, I need to apologize. I had said the St. Jude fundraiser at Indiana Gun Club coming up on October 15th was sponsored by I think I said RISK. It's RASK, R-A-S-K, RASK. The RASK corporate group, they're sponsoring this fundraiser for St. Jude's Children's Hospital out at Indiana Gun Club. And as I mentioned, you can get more details on that Go to indianagunclub.com, click on events, and just go down to October 15th, click on that, and that'll get you everything you need if you'd like to go out there, like shoot some clays, raise some money for a great cause. St. Jude's Children's Hospital doesn't get any better than that. And just as I'm saying that, I'm here in the studio, St. Jude's Children's Hospital comes up on the monitor. But that's just exactly what you'd like to do in terms of having a good time and supporting a fabulous cause. So check that out at indianagunclub.com. So it's Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
Tony Katz.
Let's now name all the things you would rather do other than move.
Gastro bypass surgery.
And I was just going to go for enema. Same body part, just from different angles.
Takes half as long.
This show is excellent, by the way.
I love it.
You know, we got nominated for a Marconi. We didn't get nominated this year. I don't see another one in our future.
It's like that Colts won Super Bowl championship. We'll always have that.
I was going to put up a finalist banner.
Tony Katz, mornings 6 to 9 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Everyone is talking about Galaxy Concrete Coatings and their transformation. Like your neighbor Dennis.
In the process of refinishing my garage and, trying to turn it into a man cave. So I started searching, online, and I ran across Galaxy.
Galaxy Concrete Coatings is not epoxy. It's better.
First thing I wanted to do initially is I wanted to repair where the concrete had eroded. They said they could do that. I said, well, heck, let me go ahead and get the entire floor covered.
Commercial or residential, 4 times stronger than epoxy, and it comes with a 15-year warranty.
They were so courteous and respectful of the home and the property. And when they're done, they cleaned up, picked up, swept up. It was like they were never there.
Click on GalaxyConcreteCoatings.com now. That's Galaxy Concrete Coatings. And remember to like us on Facebook. Galaxy Concrete Coatings. We're out of this world.
I would recommend Galaxy over any other competitor, hands down. You're going to be taken care of and you're going to be satisfied. These guys know what they're doing.
My house has a new glow. I love my windows. Universal Windows Direct.
Hey, it's Rob. Right now, schedule your free in-home estimate. For every 2 windows you buy, you get the next 2 free, plus 0% financing for 60 months. That's 5 years. Restrictions apply. Like me, you'll be saying, I love my windows.
I love my windows. They've got that brand new home effect. Universal Windows Direct.
My husband Bob has Parkinson's and he needs more help now, and I need more support to help him. Thanks to Indiana Pathways for Aging, we're getting the support we need to help him right here at home, like with meal prep and basic personal care and even respite support for me.
Pathways provides Hoosier Medicaid members, age 60 and over, support for care their way, so they can live life their way. To learn more, eligible members call 87 Pathway 4 or visit in.gov/pathways.
Fox News, I'm Jane Fergus. Former President Trump is back in Butler, Pennsylvania, where he was hit by a bullet at a rally in July. Corey Comparator, the man killed that day, will be honored.
It will be solemn. But at the same time, it'll be very exciting for people because we are also paying tribute to the fact that President Trump survived.
That's Pennsylvania Representative Dan Muser. A tropical depression has formed in the Gulf of Mexico. It's expected to reach hurricane strength by Monday and could threaten the west coast of the Florida Peninsula by Wednesday.
This has the potential to be worse than Helene for parts of the West Coast. We can't say exactly where.
That's Fox Weather hurricane specialist Brian Norcross. America's listening to Fox News.
Martha was ready to switch to a career in IT.
There's always a need for IT specialists, especially with AI coming out and cybersecurity. It's practically recession-proof.
My Computer Career even provides job placement help.
The career specialists, they're very helpful. They care about you as a person. You're not just a number to them. I would recommend My Computer Career wholeheartedly to anyone.
Take the free career evaluation today. Become an IT pro in just months with zero experience at mycomputercareer.edu.
Denny Smith here. The big fall sale at Sundown Gardens is still happening. Save 20 to 50% off trees and shrubs, 50% off herbaceous perennials and pottery. Take advantage of great fall planting weather and save 20 to 50% on trees now at Sundown Gardens. The nursery's full of great selections and the greenhouse is bursting with great local grown mums, pumpkins, and all your needs for fall decorating. Sundown Gardens is located at 186th Street and Spring Mill Road in Westfield. SundownGardens.com.
At Busey Wealth Management, we're proud to partner with individuals, families, and foundations, ensuring possibilities become achievements. From preserving and enhancing your assets to securing your legacy for future generations, we're focused on your success. Busey Bank, building business, growing wealth. Since 1868, member FDIC.
I love my Window Nation windows. They look great on my house. Window Nation's 96% customer satisfaction rating, the highest in their industry.
And Window Nation's energy-efficient windows can save you up to 40% on your energy bill. I know because I'm a customer and I've seen it. Buy 2 windows, get 2 windows for free, plus pay nothing, no interest for 2 years. 866-90-NATION or go to windownation.com.
The show about gun rights, gun safety, and responsible gun ownership. This is The Gun Guy with Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. Talking about traffic stops, and ultimately I'm going to get back to this event in Omaha where a guy was shot during a traffic stop because he ran, and more importantly, because he had a gun in his hand. And people out there are blaming constitutional carry. As moronic as that is, that's what's going on. But in the meantime, I've asked people to call in and share their stories when they've got pulled over by police with a gun in the car. To go good, go bad. Did you tell the cop? Did you not? And we'll go right back to the phone lines. We've got, let's see here, Jeff has called. Jeff, welcome to the Gun Guy Show.
Hey, welcome there. Hey, thank you.
Thank you, buddy.
I'm from Michigan. I just happened to be traveling through the state of Indiana, headed down towards Arkansas, and back in 2019, I got myself a 2017 Mini Cooper S, and I was driving a little fast that day, making it to Arkansas, going through Missouri, and next thing I know, I see a Missouri State Trooper come out from nowhere, and no big deal. I'm like, well, I had my Kimber next to me in my seat between my console and my driver's seat. And
okay, so it's not in a holster. It's not in a holster or a case. It's stuck between the seat and the console.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
And I got my CPL. I got CPL for state of Michigan, which is honored in just about every state except like 10 or 12.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, yeah, no big deal. And I always check the U.S. constitutional carry map wherever I go or drive to see what the rules and laws are.
Oh, you mean the U.S. Concealed Carry Association?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So I check that wherever I go because I drive for work a lot. But I'd always drive small vehicles. So he pulls me over, and I'm like, oh, yeah, he got me speeding. I'm dead to the right, you know. So I pull out my license. I pull out my CPL license, and I grab my registration, and I stick my hands out the driver's window.
Yep.
Comes walking up, and he's like,
And by the way, let me just interrupt you briefly right there.
Yeah.
But when you say CPL, since we're in Indiana, we call ours a license to carry handgun. Your CPL, as you call it, at Michigan is, or what? It was a concealed pistol license, correct?
Yes, correct.
All right. Okay.
Yep.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yep. And so he walks up next to the car, and he's like, any idea what I stopped you for? And I says, yeah, it's a little heavy on the accelerator. And he says, what is this you got here in your hand? And I says, well, my concealed pistol license and my license and my registration because I got a loaded Kimber right here next to me on the console. And he's like, looks at me and he goes, just keep your hands where I can see them. He says, we're good. He's letting me go check this, and he says, I'll be right back up. And he goes back, and he comes back up, and he gives me back everything. And he didn't write me a ticket. And he goes, so what are you carrying? I says, 9mm Kimber. He's like, you mind if I see? And I pull it up out of the seat by the two fingers.
He asked you to handle the gun during the traffic stop.
Yeah, and he's like, I stick it back down there, and he says, son, he says, It's your God-given right and your constitutional right to carry that in the great state of Missouri. And I just laughed. I said, you have a really good day today, sir. And he's like, keep your foot off the accelerator.
I love this guy. He's even better than the cool dude that the last caller just described. That's fantastic. Were you ever concerned about what the officer's reaction was going to be to not only you having a gun in the car, but having a gun visible to the officer during the traffic stop?
No. And the thing of it is, I think a lot of it revolves around with respect for the blue. And you know what? Don't do things crazy. Don't do things fast. Don't do things that are out of consistency with safety for their concern.
Yeah. Well, and you were respectful, and the sticking your hands out the window is also a way of telling him, hey, I'm not a risk to you. Hey, I want to show you that I'm not a risk to you, and as a sign of respect to the officer. So, hey, thanks for calling and sharing your story, Jeff. I appreciate that a lot. Now, first of all, let's talk about Indiana, right? I'm broadcasting from downtown at beautiful 40 Monument Circle, the MS building, the fourth floor studio. But we're right here in Indiana. What's the law in Indiana on duty to disclose? Do you have to tell an officer that there's a gun in the car, as you do in several states? No, there's no. In Indiana, there's no requirement that you inform an officer there's a gun in the car. Now, is it smart? Is it a good thing to do? What do you think on that? And by the way, I've discussed this on the show before. It's been probably a couple of years, but I've had callers before that said, "Oh hell no, I'll never tell an officer," and here's why. And they'll share an experience that was not a pleasant one after they told an officer that they had a gun in the car. Other people say, "Oh yeah, absolutely, I always do." But where you start from is there a legal obligation to do that? And the answer is no, not in Indiana. There is in several states. And just like Jeff just mentioned, he said, hey, when he's going to travel across state lines with his gun, he gets on and checks the U.S. Concealed Carry Association site. And they not only have a reciprocity page where you can check is your license honored in particular states. It also tell you which states have constitutional carry where you don't even need a license, and whether constitutional carry in that state applies to non-residents. And by the way, there are now, I believe, 27 states, maybe 28 states that have constitutional carry. And it used to be all of them, except North Dakota, had constitutional carry that also included non-residents. When it was passed, North Dakota said, well, okay, we have constitutional carry, permitless carry, but it only applies to North Dakota residents. They actually changed that, I think, just effective last year. It was last August, where in North Dakota now they also have constitutional carry, and it applies to non-residents. So in all those states, 26, 27 states, not only do they have constitutional carry, but it applies to non-residents. Indiana's constitutional carry law does exactly the same. It applies to you if you're over 18. And by the way, very important to note, if you're in that 18 to 21 age range, very important, you're going to travel to another state, you're going to depend on constitutional carry. You got to check, because it only applies to 21 plus in several other states. Several. In fact, I would say the majority of constitutional carry states, it only applies if you're 21 and a law-abiding citizen that's not a prohibited possessor. We're continuing to take your calls. We'll go back to the phone lines. We've got several people on hold. I'm thrilled about that. I want to hear each and every one of your stories. We'll do that when we come back. We're taking a break. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Kendall and Casey.
So 88% agreed that the overall tone of the debate was positive, very refreshing.
Kind of boring, wasn't it? Look, I need a brawl.
It was very nice and pleasant.
I hated how nice those two were to each other. Look, these are two grown-ass men who have very different views of the country. Why are we acting like a couple of goody two-shoes up there? Let's take the gloves off. Let's go.
Kendall and Casey. Weekdays 9 till noon on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Guy Relford for Rock-Op Defense Solutions. These are the fighting rifle manufacturers located right here in central Indiana. They're located in Avon, And listen, I know these folks. I know the owner, Ross Earls. I know the kind of rifles they build. I know because I own one. I have one of their beautiful Rod 15s. It's an AR-15 that is made as well as any in the country. It's as high-end. There's as much attention to detail from cradle to customer. It's mil-spec and better for their rifles. They wanted to make some incredibly high-end, high-quality, highly dependable rifles right here in central Indiana and offer them not only to law enforcement, to private citizens as well. That's why I have one. It's beautiful. It's got a great trigger in it. I was able to accessorize it through them. I got my optic. I put an ACOG on it from Trijicon. First ACOG I've owned. Love it, love it, love it. And you can do exactly the same. Check them out at rock-opdefense.com. You want a high-end fighting rifle, an AR-15 style rifle, that's exactly where you should go. rock-opdefense.com.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $200-$300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code YEAR to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code YEAR for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code YEAR for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
The deals and specials are sizzling hot. It's the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show next Saturday and Sunday at the Stoutfield National Guard Armory on West Minnesota Street. The best dealers in the region, hundreds of tables, just $6 for adults, kids 12 and under free. Must be 18 or accompanied by an adult. Buy, sell, trade. Next Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Sunday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Stoutfield National Guard Armory. For more info, visit CentralIndianaGunShows.com.
Community Health Network cares for your heart health. From heart scans and vascular screenings to complex heart procedures, you can count on our expert team for the highest quality cardiovascular care, when and where you need it. Your path to a healthy heart starts with knowing your risk. Schedule a heart scan or vascular screening today. Visit ecommunity.com/heart. Community Health Network. Exceptional care. Simply delivered.
Garage door problems? Call today for service today. Garage Doors of Indianapolis services all makes of garage doors 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Call today for service today. 875-4577. Call today for service today. Get it fixed right now. Call Garage Doors of Indianapolis at 875-4577 or visit doorstoday.com.
In the morning, call 875-4577. Service today. Today.
Pat Sullivan here for Hope Plumbing. For 17 years, my friends at Hope Plumbing have treated homes like their very own. With local owners who care deeply about this community, they put your health and safety at the forefront of their business. That's why when I need plumbing help, no matter how big or small, I only call Hope Plumbing. They care about you and your family, which is why I believe they're the very best place to take your plumbing problems. Give them a call at 641-HOPE. That's 641-HOPE or hopeplumbing.com.
You want to listen all day to WIBC, but you don't always have time. Don't worry. There's a podcast for that. The WIBC Mashup. Daily highlights from your favorite hosts, Tony Katz, Kendall and Casey, and Hammer and Nigel. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Now, you got a gun guy. Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. Taking calls, talking about people's experiences getting pulled over by police when you've got a gun in the car. How'd it go for you? What was good and what was bad about it? And let's go right back to the phone lines. And Matt has called. Matt, we've only got about a minute and a half, man. You got a shorter story for us?
Yeah, I do. I was driving a Super Sports Camaro, and
good for you. I drive a Cadillac CTS-V that's got, I think, the same motor in it.
Yeah, and I live in Bartholomew County, and I went from a rural to a suburban district. The speed limit went from 45 to 30, got pulled over by a statey, and he walked up. I had my paperwork, I had my permit, I had my license, I had my registration, and he asked me if I had a gun in the car. And I said, yes, it's in the door pocket on the left door. And he said, with two fingers, reach down, pick it up, and keep your right hand on the steering wheel. And I handed it to him.
Oh, he took possession of it.
Yes, and went back to his car. And then over the loudspeaker, because this was in the middle of February and the snow was blowing, I had to go and sit in the passenger side of his car.
You kidding?
Yeah, I sat in the passenger side of his car. And he said, are you aware that you had a round in the chamber? I said, yes.
Yeah,
yes, I am.
It's not much good if you don't, in my personal experience.
Yes. And so he wrote me a 5-over ticket, gave me my paperwork back.
Gave you a ticket for 5 over the speed limit.
Yes.
Okay, this guy, I'm putting this guy in the jerk category. I would use a different word if I wasn't on the radio. And hey, Jeff, I'll tell you what, Matt, excuse me, if you want to hang on, I kind of like to get the end of this story, but we're coming up on a hard out, so I'm up against it. Hang on, because I want to get the rest of your story. And by the way, we've got several other people on hold. Want to get your stories as well. This is Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Hi, my name is Paige Strodbeck, and I'm a member of Tabernacle Presbyterian Church. TAB is a place where sound biblical teaching is the foundation for who we are and everything we do. Church at TAB isn't just for Sunday. It happens every day of the week through ministries that serve those inside and outside the church. From the pastor's Bible study to our chef-led cafe offering hot meals to organized youth sports, TAB is focused on living out the gospel of Jesus Christ. If you're looking for a church that combines faithful preaching with urban outreach, you've come to the right place. I'm Paige Strodbeck, and I invite you to come see for yourself.
Tabernacle Presbyterian Church, 34th Street and Central Avenue in Indianapolis, invites you to worship Sunday morning at 8 or 10 a.m. If you can't make it in person, tune in to Sunday with Tab, Sunday mornings at 6:30 on WIBC, or find us online at tabpres.org.
Hi, this is Denny Smith, and Halloween is coming. I'm a big fan of Zerorez because their platinum cleaning systems are truly the best you can find. And with all the spooky stuff that's ended up in your carpets, just know that Zerorez systems can and will safely and effectively remove all the deeply embedded dirt, dander, and even the scary bacteria in your carpets and floors. The game changer is the patented ZR water that uses no soap, leaves no residue, and there are no harsh chemicals because they just aren't needed to get things really clean. That's why Zerorez is my go-to carpet cleaning company, because I know that they can really get rid of all of the uglies. I just love these folks. And remember, there's something scarier than ghosts and goblins hiding in your home, and that's your air ducts. This month, take $75 off your air duct cleaning. Now mention WIBC, get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at $129, plus you get $75 off air duct cleaning too. Call 317-388-5141 or book things online at ZerorezIndy.com. That's ZerorezIndy.com.
Moments like hearing my cat purr good morning mean a lot to me. But after being diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer, or MBC, which is breast cancer that is spread to other parts of the body, they mean even more. I take Ibrance, palbociclib. Ibrance 125 milligram tablets with an aromatase inhibitor is for adults with HR-positive, HER2-negative MBC as the first hormonal-based therapy. Ask your doctor about Ibrance and visit Ibrance.com. Ibrance may cause low white blood cell counts that may lead to serious infections. Ibrance may cause severe inflammation of the lungs. Both of these can lead to death. Tell your doctor right away if you have new or worsening symptoms, including trouble breathing, shortness of breath, cough, or chest pain. Before taking Ibrance, tell your doctor if you have fever, chills, or other signs of infection, liver or kidney problems, are or plan to become pregnant, or are breastfeeding. Common side effects include low red blood cell and low platelet counts, infections, tiredness, nausea, sore mouth, abnormalities in liver blood tests, diarrhea, hair thinning or loss, vomiting, rash, and loss of appetite.
Broadcasting from the Technology Recycler Studios, this is Indy's Mobile News, 93 WIBC, WIBC HD1 Indianapolis. The news starts now.
Back
In Butler, I'm Jane Fergus, Fox News. Former President Trump returns to Butler, Pennsylvania for the first time since the first assassination attempt on him took place at a rally there in July. The former president's running mate, Senator J.D. Vance, joined him.
My friends, I know you'll join me in saying we're going to remember July 13th, 2024 forever. Many of you were here, and it is a testament to your courage and your patriotism that you're here again today.
Tech billionaire Elon Musk is also at the rally. More airstrikes back and forth between Israeli Defense Forces and Lebanese militant group Hezbollah. Fox's Trey Yingst is in Israel with the latest.
We are seeing more attacks by the Iran-backed group Hezbollah into northern Israel. Earlier today, there were more rockets soaring through the skies of this city, some of them intercepted, others slamming into the sea. This is a reoccurring theme as the conflict continues. It's not just here in Haifa, Israel's third largest city, but all across northern Israel, as Israeli strikes are hammering Hezbollah positions in southern Lebanon and also in the Lebanese capital of Beirut. The group is still firing back. They have an arsenal of thousands of rockets and missiles, and they are using them as we speak.
And this comes as Israeli strikes also targeted parts of Yemen, namely bases used by Houthi rebels. Congolese authorities on Saturday began vaccination against Mpox nearly 2 months after the disease outbreak that spread from Congo to several African countries was declared a global emergency by the World Health Organization. Congo accounts for more than 80% of all the Mpox cases and 99% of all the deaths reported in Africa this year. America's listening to Fox News.
Stay on top of the latest forecast with America's Weather Team in the palm of your hands.
Here's the latest from America's Weather Center.
It's Fox weather updates throughout your busy day, every day.
That heat's going to be out there for one more day.
Temperatures being 30 degrees above average.
Put the power of over 100 meteorologists and the worldwide resources of Fox in your hands with the Fox Weather Podcast. Precise, personal, powerful. Subscribe and listen now at foxnewspodcasts.com. Connect to Fox News Audio on the Fox News app. Listen to hear your favorite hosts like Brian Kilmeade, Jimmy Fallon, and Guy Benson standing up for what's right, live and via podcast. Just click listen, then swipe right and hear the latest news updates on your time. And scroll down to hear the latest podcasts from Fox News. And it's even easier to listen in the car with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Get programming alerts and notifications. Fox News Audio is on the Fox News app. The voices America trusts. Download it now.
93 WIBC Mobile News. On the level, on the go.
They've arrested him for murder. I'm Sasha Nixon. Here's what's trending this hour. The Gibson County Sheriff's Office recently announced that it was searching for a missing Patoka woman. Now her husband has been arrested for murder. Officers previously said Kayla Flaherty may have been driving to Vincennes Thursday. Daniel Flaherty had apparently first reported that his wife was missing Thursday night. But police recently revealed that Daniel was taken to the Gibson County Jail Friday night. They did not provide any additional information about Kayla, but they said her husband's arrest connects to an extensive investigation. And you may have heard about someone using smart glasses to try and record a Delphi murders court hearing. Donnie Burgess reports that the person involved wants to clear the air.
Independent content creator Christiana Stewart says her Ray-Ban glasses were never a concern.
They were not being used to record anyone. They were not being used to do any of that. I mean, at the end of the day, they're simply a pair of sunglasses. Literally.
She says she wasn't punished by the court or barred from the trial, but electronic eyeglasses have joined the list of banned items from the Delphi murders courtroom. Stewart says the real concern deserving your attention should be the court refusing to allow you any real access to the trial of Richard Allen, which begins October 14th. Donnie Burgess, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
But the average price for gas across the state is currently $3.13 per gallon, according to GasBuddy.com. That's below the national average of $3.18. On the level, on the go, and on WIBC.com. Now here's the forecast from the American Standard Cooling Weather Center.
We're mostly clear tonight. Might get a little breezy overnight. A low down to 61. Sunday, partly cloudy, breezy. A little bit cooler, more seasonable as we open up the new work week. I'm Wish TV Storm Track Aid meteorologist Marcus Bailey for 93 WIBC.
Have you lost Indiana Medicaid? At healthcare.gov, you can find a low-cost, quality health plan.
Do plans cover doctor visits?
What about emergency care?
And prescriptions?
All covered and more. Plus, with the new law, 4 out of 5 customers can find a plan for $10 or less per month with financial help. Healthcare.gov is here for you. Enroll today for coverage starting the 1st of next month. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
We need each other because every someone needs someone else.
We need each other because when we work together, we can do so much more.
We connect more children with what they need to grow up healthy, educated, and safe. And that's what Child Fund is all about.
Because when you make someone's world better, you make everyone's world better.
Child Fund, because we need each other.
Learn more at childfund.org. That's childfund.org.
Can you hear me?
So can your customers. Get your message heard. Text business to 71007 now. Get results with Radio 1.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This is the Second Amendment, and this is the Gun Guy.
Boom, 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 boom. Bang, 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 bang. Boom, 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 boom. Bang, bang, bang.
With Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back for hour number 2 of the Gun Guy Show here on 93 WIBC. We're talking about traffic stops in the context of this story coming out of Omaha, Nebraska. A guy gets pulled over for expired plates. I mean, incredibly minor. Ends up getting shot dead, in large part because he, A, fled the traffic stop, and B, at some point had the gun in his hand that ended up being pointed at police. It sounds like he was scaling a fence as he was running away from police. And as he went over the fence, the gun pointed at the police officers. Whether that was intentional or not, I have no idea. But an officer saw a gun pointed in his direction, opened fire, hit the guy 8 times. The officer was 8 for 8, by the way. So it was accurate. A lot of times, historically, the statistics show that the hit rate in police shootings is not particularly impressive. I mean, hey, easy for me to say. I'm not out there wearing a uniform and wearing a badge and having to defend myself under very tense circumstances. So there are certainly some contributing factors there. But here, the hit rate was 100%, 8 for 8, based on the reports I've read. The guy's dead. But it started with the fact that he had a gun in his possession during a traffic stop. So I'm starting the discussion here with people's stories on their traffic stops. And when we came up against the hard out at the top of the hour, we had Matt on the phone who had called in. And when we left our hero, Matt,
yep,
that's you. You had a traffic stop. You handed the officer your handgun license as kind of an indirect way of letting him know there's a gun in the car, I would assume.
Yes.
And he then demanded that you hand him the gun. And then
with 2 fingers.
With 2 fingers, then went back to his car and demanded you come back and sit in the front seat of his car with him, right?
Yes. It was the middle of February. It was blowing snow.
So then what happened?
Well, he ran all the paperwork. Everything was fine. And then he handed me my gun back and handed me my paperwork back. And then he said, and I was, okay, like the red and black flannel that your grandpa would wear deer hunting.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, put the clip and the bullet in there. Here's your paperwork.
So did he take the magazine out of the gun then?
Yes.
And he took the round out of the chamber. He cleared the chamber as well.
Yes. And he asked if I was aware that I had one in the chamber. Yes, I was. He said, okay, get out of my car. You stand here, show me one hand with the paperwork, one hand with the gun, and you just wait just a second in the middle of blowing snow till I finish my paperwork and I drive away. Then you can go back to your car, reload your weapon, and you're free to go after I got my 5-mile-an-hour speeding ticket.
Yeah, for 5 over the limit. Now, if you just had to guess, Matt, I'm going to answer this question here during the show. And this was in Indiana, I take it.
Yes, it was in Bartholomew County.
Okay. Now, if what's your impression? Is what the officer, what he did, you think that's legal? Do you think he had the legal authority to take possession of your gun, to demand that you give him your gun during the traffic stop?
Well, this was in 2000.
Yeah, okay. All right. But
2000.
whether it's 2000 or today, when it happened, did you think it was legal? Not sure. I take it.
I wasn't going to argue with him.
No. I'm not. I'm not saying you did anything wrong. I'm just asking you. Do you think what he did was legal?
Probably not by today's standards.
Well, and we'll cut the conversation there, Matt. But today's standards are the same standards as in 2020. Or for that matter, going back some amount of time. And we'll talk about this as the show goes on. But thanks so much to Matt for calling. Let's go back to the phone lines, and George has called. George, you got a story too?
Yeah, mine's similar to the previous caller. It was a Sunday afternoon, middle of the day, hardly any traffic. I was going north on Shadeland. There's 3 lanes. I came up to 30th Street to a stoplight, and I stopped. Deputy rolled up beside me in the middle lane. The light turned green, and I went forward, and he whipped over behind me and lit me up. So I pulled over. He said license, registration, and insurance. I handed him that. He said, "You got any guns in the car?" And I said, "Yeah, I got a .45 and a Derringer." He said, "Well, let me see them." So I handed them to him. He jacked all the ammo out onto the street.
You're kidding.
No, and then took the guns back to his car, ran the serial numbers, make sure they weren't stolen, came back and handed me my weapons and my seatbelt ticket. And I took off, and I fully expected him to light me up again and try to make me go back and pick all the damn ammo up off the street. And the only reason I'm calling is because I'm still pissed.
I don't blame you. And was it self-defense ammo? Because that stuff can be a little expensive.
Yeah, I wasn't worried about that. It's just the idea of the thing.
Yeah, so wait a minute. So he actually left live ammo laying on the ground on the side of the road.
We both did. But it was a deputy sheriff. He must not have had anything else to do that day.
That's unbelievable. Well, we're going to talk about that as well. And I'm really glad to get these stories, both from Matt and from George, about officers demanding to take possession of their gun. That's something we're going to get into specifically. But I want to continue getting stories. These are fabulous, and I really appreciate the calls. If you have an experience. You got pulled over with a gun in the car. It's happened to me, I believe it's 5 times now. So yeah, I may drive a little quickly. And they were very consistent. And actually only got a ticket in one of them, including a 72 and a 45. But I want to continue to get your calls and your stories. We got Chris is called. Chris, welcome to the Gun Guy Show. Chris, you with us there, bro? Oh, Chris, you're snoozing. I'll tell you what, I'm going to put you on hold. I'm going to try you one more time when we come back. In the meantime, let's see here. Clark, I think it is. Dirk, I'm sorry. You know what? I've mentioned this before here on the show. On my monitor, when people call in and producer Jack puts them on hold, the background of the call for that line is dark purple and the font is black, and it's damn hard to read. Anyway, Dirk, I'm sorry I mispronounced your name, brother. What you got for us?
Well, thanks for taking the call. I was in Florida back in early May, and on A1A I pulled out and I met there was a little bit of traffic.
And I'm sorry, what state is this?
Florida.
Okay.
And I happened to have Indiana license and Florida license. And
so you had a Florida license to carry?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry. And deputy sheriff on a motorcycle was coming towards me. Told my wife, I said, "He's got somebody." And then I said, "Yep, it's me." So he pulled up, pulled me over, and I hadn't opened my wallet to show both licenses. and slipped out my driver's license. He looked at it like, oh, okay. And then, well, where is your gun? And I said, well, it's on my right hip and holster. He said, okay. And then said, well, told me how fast. No, he asked me what. No, he said you were going, whatever it was. It was more than my 9 over usual. And I said, yes, sir. That's right. And then he started asking me about why I had 2 licenses. And because he said Florida's good and here, there, and all that. And I said, well, Indiana's good for, I think I said close to 40 states, but I said a couple of states I needed. So I got Florida's. And anyway, I said, a lot of people get Utah, a lot of people get Florida. I like the way to get to Florida one better, so that's what I got. And he said, okay. And then he came back and handed me a card saying to watch out for motorcycles. And I said, well, I'm a rider. I do that. And that was it. No ticket, no nothing.
No kidding. So he didn't have any problem with the gun.
No.
That's awesome.
I feel like I educated him a little bit.
And he even just got a warning out of it, or not even that, right? He just let you go.
Yep.
Fantastic. Great story, brother. Thanks so much for calling. Let's see here. Anthony has called. Anthony, what you got for us? Welcome to the Gun Guy Show.
Yeah, good afternoon. Been a while.
Absolutely.
Welcome back to Indianapolis.
Oh, actually, my trial was in Indianapolis, so I was in town. I was just up to my eyeballs in legal work. But at any rate, what happened to you, Anthony? What's your story?
Well, this was 50 years ago in Arizona when I was going to Arizona State University, and I was going from the gun range just north of Phoenix at Lake Pleasant back down to Phoenix again on a motorcycle. And this was a big motorcycle. And I have strapped on in a Western holster a double-action .357 Magnum, a giant hog leg.
Good
and
for
I get
you.
pulled over for.
Now, what's very important to this story, was this a Harley?
No, it wasn't a Harley.
It was a Goldwing, wasn't
it? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I still like you, Anthony. It's all good. Let's go.
Well,
keep going.
Anyway, so I get pulled over for speeding because I'm on a state highway, and I believe it was a Maricopa County Sheriff deputy, and he's got me dead to rights. And he, obviously he sees this big hog leg strapped on, and so he says, just keep your hands on the seat there. Now, at this time, I was not 21 yet. And and this was over 1968.
Okay.
And Arizona at that time was open carry, completely open carry.
Oh, that's right. And you didn't even need a license if you were open carrying, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember Arizona being that way. That's awesome.
Yeah. So he gets we start taking care of the ticket, and then he asked me, he says, well, where are you going? And I said, well, I'm going to the bank. And of course, there's this big hog leg strapped on, and I got bullets in the loops around the belt. And he goes, "What are you going to the bank for?" And I said, "Well, I got to deposit my paycheck." So he goes, so then we get involved in this conversation. He goes, "Yeah, what kind of hog leg is that?" I said, "Well, it's a double action." And he says, "Let me see it." So I pull it out and I hand it to him. He opens it up. He says, you got 6 rounds in the chamber, in the chambers on this. And I go, oh yeah, well, it's got a safety device in there to keep the firing pin from hitting the.
Yeah, most modern revolvers have that now. Yep, you bet.
Yeah,
Let me guess, Smith & Wesson 686.
No, it was a Ruger.
Okay, all right, like a Super Blackhawk.
No, it was a Ruger. Security 6, right?
Oh yeah, I know the gun. All right, so he wants you to hand it to him. He wants to examine your gun. So he opens up, he checks the chambers, and it's a 6-shooter. It's got 6 chambers. You got 6 rounds in it.
Yeah,
it makes sense to me, man.
Yeah, so he says, that's not safe. And I said, oh, that's just fine. I said, Ruger made it so the firing pin can't hit the primer. And he goes, oh, I've never seen that. So he dumps all the rounds out into his hand, and he starts playing with it
You're
to
kidding
see
me.
how that sliding plate works. Then when he's done with it, he goes, oh, that's really nifty. I'd never seen anything like that before. I've only seen the old Colts.
And in the meantime, there are cars driving by while this officer is playing with a firearm in his hands on the side of the road.
Oh, yeah. So when he gives it back, he puts all the rounds back in, and he goes, just keep it under 70 next time.
All right. I'm not real sure how I feel about the guy fondling the gun on the side of the road. But other than that, sounds like a great guy. I'll tell you what, we're past the quarter hour. We'll take a break. We got several more people on hold. These stories are fabulous. I'm going to reserve a little time at the end of the show and talk about what the law is here in Indiana on all these different issues. Can the officer ask you if there's a gun in the car? Can the officer take possession of the gun? Can they demand that you hand it to them, like we've heard from several callers? We'll get into all of that here eventually, but in the meantime, these stories are fantastic. So I'm going to go right back to the phone lines when we come back. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WYBC.
Hammer and Nigel.
J.D. Vance, Trump's running mate. Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, running alongside Kamala Harris. I think J.D. Vance was smooth.
Like so many people thought Donald Trump's running mate was going to be this. They're eating the dogs, crazy, lunatic, MAGA hat-wearing crazy guy. But he was the one that was calm, reserved, and smart.
Hammer and Nigel, weekdays 3 till 7 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Guy Relford for Tactical Firearms Training. You know, our most popular class is Essentials of Indiana Gun Law, and we've got one coming up just a little over a month, Saturday, November 9th, out at Parabellum Firearms and Indoor Range, located in Avon. It's a great range, great firearms store, and they've got a nice, big, comfortable classroom where we're going to put on Essentials of Indiana Gun Law. This is 4.5 to 5 hours of the most important legal information that you need as an Indiana gun owner. We talk about traffic stops, just like we're doing on the air tonight, but also a detailed discussion of the use of force and self-defense, when you can point a gun at someone legally and when you can't, when you can go to jail for various gun-related offenses that often don't even involve pulling the trigger. There are various ways to get arrested and prosecuted for felonies here in Indiana for gun-related crimes, and a lot of times people just don't understand the law in this area. That's exactly why I put on this class. It's at Parabellum Firearms and Indoor Range on November 9th. That's Essentials of Indiana Gun Law with Tactical Firearms Training. Just go to tactical-firearms.com. Just click on upcoming courses at tactical-firearms.com.
Garage door problems? Call today for service today. Garage Doors of Indianapolis services all makes of garage doors 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Call today for service today. 875-4577. Call today for service today. Get it fixed right now. Call Garage Doors of Indianapolis at 875-4577 or visit doorstoday.com.
In the morning, call 875-4577.
Service today?
Today.
Today is the final day of Mecum Auction's new Indy Fall Special at the Indiana State Fairgrounds. Don't miss the fun, fast-paced, high energy of the Mecum experience with hundreds of vehicles to cross the auction block today for avid collectors, first-time buyers, and enthusiasts of all ages. Mecum Auctions is for you. Register to bid and buy spectator tickets now at Mecum.com. That's Mecum.com.
JMV here. The big fall sale at Miss M's Home and Garden is still happening. Save 20 to 50% off. Trees and shrubs, 50% off. Herbaceous perennials, 30% off. In-stock patio furniture and more. Not only is the fall sale happening, but they have a great selection of local grown mums, pumpkins, and all your decorating needs. Take advantage of great planting weather and save right now at Miss M's. That is Miss M's on State Road 135 south of Whiteland Road in Bargersville.
What is 988? It's a way forward. It's a listening ear. It's whatever help you need, when you need it. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline offers trained crisis specialists, ready to talk to you 24/7. If you or someone you love is experiencing a mental health or substance use crisis in their life, call or text 988. Want more information? Visit 988indiana.org.
Tune in to the Absolute Retirement Planning Show.
When retirement comes about, we're now relying on what we have saved to meet those needs.
Sundays at 9 a.m. right here on 93 WIBC.
We may be thousands of miles apart, but we can still connect. And when we do, we make things better. At Child Fund, we connect children all around the world with what they need to grow up healthy, educated, and safe. Together, we co-create connections that help millions of children who live in poverty worldwide, and their families, and their communities, and you. Join us. Together, we can make the world a better place. 2 small worlds at a time. Visit childfund.org to learn more.
You let him try violin because you love him. And if you love him that much, love him enough to make sure he's buckled up and in the back seat. Find out more at nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
When I was younger, I may have did some stupid things, even committed some crimes, but I'm not a criminal.
I work for youth advocate programs, YAP. I was Tamani's advocate, helping him stay out of jail, stay in the neighborhood, and get a job.
As a little kid, I experienced trauma and I acted out. Made some mistakes, but I'm not a mistake.
As Jalen's YAP advocate, I'm always here for her.
YAP is a community-based alternative to youth incarceration and neighborhood violence. Youth advocate programs. Learn how at yapinc.org.
Housing discrimination because of race, color, or national origin is against the law. If you believe you've experienced housing discrimination, contact HUD at hud.gov/fair housing.
The Indianapolis Public Library. More than just books. Visit your local branch today.
Now you've got a gun guy. Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. We're talking about traffic stops. And eventually I'm going to get to what the law is here in Indiana. And this is all in the context of a guy out in Omaha, Nebraska, who ended up getting shot 8 times and killed by police because he's carrying a gun during a traffic stop. Now, he also fled. He also apparently pulled the gun out of his pocket, had it in the pocket of his hoodie, not a particularly great way to carry a gun. But at one point, scaled a fence. The gun got pointed at the cops, and a police officer shot him 8 times, and he's now dead. A lot of people are blaming constitutional carry. But the context is traffic stops, and what I've done is ask for people to call in with their stories, and I'll tell you, we've had a fabulous group of callers, and we got a ton of people on hold. So let's go right back to the phone lines. And Chris has called. Chris, you got a story too?
Yeah, I think it was back in like 2011 or so. I got pulled over. Officer asked me if I had a gun in the car. He said yes. He asked me where it was. Of course, I handed him my license and my carry permit. And
let me stop you there, buddy. Why did you decide to hand him both your license to carry and your handgun license?
Well, being military in some states, you have to show it.
Okay.
But just out of habit, I did.
Okay. All right.
So,
I'm sorry. Go on from there.
Yeah, I know in the state of Indiana you don't have to. But back then I was young and dumb, didn't know the laws, knew enough to, carry it. But, when I got pulled over, I, didn't know what the laws were.
Right. Well, I'm not saying it's a bad idea. I just wanted to know why you did it. But no, I got you right there. So I'm sorry. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, he asked me, before I handed him my carry permit, he asked me if there was any guns in the car. I said yes, and I have a permit, so he has to see it. So I gave it to him. Asked me where it was. I said it was on my hip. He says, okay, I want you with 2 fingers, take it out and hand it to me.
Now, here we go again.
So again, not knowing the law, I did. But so after the fact, of course, he goes back to his car with my gun, and, runs it, comes back and everything, hands me back my gun, says, just do me a favor, don't load it until, until we leave. And I carry with one in the chamber. So after the fact, I got thinking how stupid that was, because here I am, handing over a loaded weapon. Number one, I'm flagging myself to hand it to somebody that's in my window. He's grabbing it from me, and it's still pointing at me, and, do I know he knows this gun?
Yeah.
There's no safety on this gun that I'm carrying, so what happens if it goes off when he's back in his car?
Yeah, well, or what happens if it goes off
when I thought about it.
Yeah, when you're both handling it on the side of the road.
Correct.
How'd it go from there?
The guy was really nice. I was really I hear all these horror stories about people being pulled over and everything, and back then, and how the officers were mean and nasty and this, that, and the other. He was a very nice officer. I just didn't know the law. I didn't know that I did not have to give it to him. I did not have to, I did not have to do what I did.
Well,
I said, the more I think about it, the more angry I got about it, because, I put myself and the officer in danger by handing over a loaded gun.
Yeah, that's fair, Chris, but don't beat yourself up, because listen, there's, and I haven't gotten into what the law actually is on this point, but there are arguments you win on the side of the road with a police officer, and there are arguments that you don't. In fact, you don't win many arguments with a police officer on the side of the road. But here in just a bit, probably after the next break, I want to get as many calls in as I can. But I'm going to talk about what the law is in this area. But knowing what the law is and winning an argument on the side of the road with a police officer who's telling you to do something, and typically they don't tell you to do something with the idea that it's optional, those are two different issues. So we're going to get back into the details on that here in just a bit. In the meantime, I'm going to go back to the phone line. Spencer's been on hold for a while. So, Spencer, what you got?
Hey, I don't have any outlandish stories about officers taking weapons away from me. I have had a couple do that, and everything was cool. But Garrison touched this topic about 7 years ago. I think he had the Indiana State Police, I think it was Bernstein maybe back then. They did a 3-hour show on it, and he basically, his opinion was don't announce it if you don't, if it's not in plain sight and they don't ask you about it, don't announce it, because you just escalated a simple speeding ticket into a stop where he's going to have to run your gun and, go through all that. And I've even heard in some cases if IMPD gets it, they'll take it and keep it, shoot a round out of it, put an identifying mark on it. You might be 6 months, you might be 6 years getting it back.
If there's an arrest, and I've got a lot of familiarity with what goes on in Marion County, if the gun is seized for some reason, it goes to the property room, and in Marion County, it can be absolute hell to get it back. But I appreciate the story. I think it sets up what we're going to get into here in just a bit, which is exactly what the law is. I'll tell you, let's take one more call before we take the break. And if you're on hold, hey, we'll get back to you after the break. But Beef has called in. Welcome to the Gun Guy Show.
Hey, Guy. Just real quick, I had an experience, and before I could even say, and I was always heard that, it's probably better to announce just to put them at ease. But I've also heard that you say, hey, I have my permit, carry permit in my wallet, instead of announcing gun, just to keep things a little less, shocking for the officer, instead of going gun in a crowded theater.
I agree with that comment completely, because I've heard one person in my class. I was teaching the Essentials of Indiana Gun Law class that I pitch here on the Gun Guy Show, and a guy told a story that he got pulled over, and it was a very young, inexperienced officer who was still on field training, and his field training officer walked up with him during the stop. It was just a speeding stop, and the FTO, the field training officer, stopped at the back of the car. And the young, inexperienced officer walked up to the window, and he said, he could see what was going on. The guy was smart enough to understand, how police are trained and understand the field training system, and understood what was going on. And he had a rookie officer involved. So he said, as calmly and politely as he could, he said, hey, I just want to let you know that I do have a license to carry, and I do have a gun in the car. And he said the officer went, what'd you say? And he said, I just want to let you know I've got a license and I've got a gun in the car. It's under the passenger seat, and everything's cool, and I have a license. And the guy made him repeat it again. And then this young officer looks back at his FTO and just goes, he's got a gun, like screaming. And he said the guy, the caller, or not, in this case, it wasn't a caller, it was a guy in my class. He said, I fully expected to get shot. He said, I thought he yelled, he's got a gun, that the other officer was going to respond with gunfire. And it turns out the field training officer, he was an FTO for a reason, and apparently had very good hearing, because he heard the whole thing. And his response was, well, does he have a license for it? And the other guy goes, yeah. He goes, well, then there's no problem, is there? And that was it. But he said there for that millisecond, he literally thought he was going to die, because this guy just yells, he's got a gun, because he, as calmly and politely as he could, said he had a gun in the car. And that's a scary situation, and really points out exactly what the point the caller just made. I'll tell you, we're a little past the bottom of the hour. We'll take a break. Come back, we'll take a couple more calls, and then I'll lay out exactly what the law is in this area. We're taking a break. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
This could be one of the most consequential votes of our lifetime.
Who will be our next governor?
U.S. Senator.
Our next president? Who will represent us in the General Assembly?
You have a voice
with your one vote.
Unhappy with the current state of affairs?
You can do something about it. Voting is one of our most important rights as Americans.
It's how you can stand up for your beliefs,
your values,
and for future generations. A reminder to make your vote count on November 5th.
November 5th.
From WIBC
and Urban One.
Fall in Indy is great, but don't spend it painting. Do what your neighbor Don did. He called Rhino Shield.
Well, the home was built in 1948. Paint on the aluminum siding was peeling, and I couldn't find anyone who would repaint it until I called Rhino Shield.
Rhino Shield's better than paint, and the crew?
Painted all my aluminum siding, and I've got a front porch that runs the whole length of the house, and all the pillars, and once they were gone, I couldn't even tell that they were there.
And right now, Indy, get the guaranteed protection of Rhino Shield for 15% off the regular price. Plus, there's more great news. Rhino Shield has partnered with Green Sky Financing to offer affordable monthly payments with 0% interest loans to qualified customers.
Well, I've told a lot of people, do the Rhino Shield. It's really a great product, and that would be the way to go.
And here's Rhino Shield's Shane Smith.
Call me at 888-RHINO-41. That's 888-RHINO-41.
Don't paint. Go Rhino.
Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Hi, I'm Kay Diener. 34 years ago, my husband Bill and I joined TAB after hearing about its community involvement, service opportunities, and welcoming nature of the congregation. I have always liked volunteering and helping others, and at TAB, I found many ways to do both. Over the years, I've had the privilege of serving as a deacon, an elder, a tutor, Sunday school helper, member of the Media and Children's Ministries committees, as well as other areas when able. In so doing, I have witnessed the caring hearts of others who selflessly share their love of Christ and TAB. I'm Kay Diener, and I invite you to come to TAB and see for yourself.
Tabernacle Presbyterian Church, 34th Street and Central Avenue in Indianapolis, invites you to worship Sunday morning at 8 or 10 a.m. If you can't make it in person, tune in to Sunday with Tab, Sunday mornings at 6:30 on WIBC, or find us online at tabpres.org.
Stevens, Tropical Storm Milton likely hitting Florida in a few days as a hurricane.
Monday evening, max wind speeds predicted of 100 miles per hour over the central Gulf of Mexico. And then as it approaches the Florida Peninsula on Wednesday, this is 7 a.m. Wednesday, maximum sustained winds of 110 miles per hour.
Jamie Rome of the National Hurricane Center. Former President Trump at the site of a July assassination attempt in Pennsylvania today. Last night, he talked immigration in North Carolina.
The migrant crime, it's a massive crime. But all of this that's happened, everybody, it's common sense that it was going to happen. And we're going to have to get them out because we have no choice. It's not sustainable by any country.
Vice President Kamala Harris visiting North Carolina today. America's listening to Fox News.
Barrington Jewels believes in the timeless value of exquisite craftsmanship. Discover stunning collections for engagements, weddings, and more. Whether you're looking for the perfect diamond or a unique pre-owned piece, the expert staff at Barrington Jewels is here to guide you. Visit today to find the jewelry that will last a lifetime. Visit Barrington Jewels today or shop online at barringtonjewels.com. And remember, you haven't seen a diamond until you've seen a Barrington diamond.
Do you need furnace or heat pump service and need to find a local well-trained expert you can trust like B&W Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Drains? We'll find that American Standard Air dealer at IndyHomeComfort.com.
Want to find out what real retirement planning is all about? Tune in to Expedition Retirement with Greg Ayler, Sunday mornings at 7 on WIBC.
My name is Ariel. When I arrived in the U.S. at 19, I struggled to find job opportunities without my high school diploma. My entire life changed when I took a chance and got my high school diploma at age 22. Everything I have, my education, my career, my marriage, I owe to the Adult Literacy Center and my teachers. They were with me every step of the way, helping with my English and math, making sure I pushed through all the challenges.
Ariel, your success proves that what I'm doing as a teacher has real meaning.
It was an honor helping you achieve your greatness. Now you're helping others achieve theirs. It inspires me.
Education was the key that unlocked all my opportunities.
When you graduate, they graduate. Find free and supportive adult education centers near you at finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Indie Humane, committed to helping Central Indiana's pets in need since 1905. Find your new best friend today. IndieHumane.org.
He's a Second Amendment attorney. He's an NRA certified firearms instructor. He's the gun guy. Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back. I'm Guy Relford on the Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC. We're talking about traffic stops. We're getting people's stories of being pulled over by the police when you got a gun in the car. Some are pretty darn good in terms of very positive interaction with the officer, and some not so great. But I'll tell you what, we've had Chris on hold for quite a while. Let's take Chris's call. Then I'm going to go into what the law really is in this area. Chris, welcome to the Gun Guy Show.
Hi, Guy. Can you hear me this time?
Yes, sir. You bet.
All right. I've actually got 3 different times, but I'll tell you of at least 2 if we got time. The first one, I have to tell you I'm left-handed, so that's part of it. I carried a holstered gun on the left side. I have a heavy foot, like it sounds like you do too. So the other issue is I drive a box truck, and I kept my wallet in the pocket of the on the door of the box truck, and to get into that pocket, I'd have to open the door a little bit. So when the officer asked for my driver's license, usually I've got that out ready, but in that truck, I didn't have the opportunity. So I told them that I've got a handgun on my left hip and that I would have to open the door to get my license. No sooner than I said that, he reached in, grabbed the gun out of my holster, threw it on top of the van, and then proceeded with the stop from that point. It was crazy.
So now a box truck, he throws it all the way up on top. That's like 10 feet off the ground, right?
Well, no, the truck has a van front. So
I got you. Okay, yeah. So you put it on top of the cab, essentially.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, crazy though. I mean, he was, and this was a state cop. He was out of control. He had the worst attitude. It was terrible.
That's not good. I'll tell you what, Chris. Let's stop with that story, because look, I want to lay out what the law is in this area, and then we'll go back and we'll take as many calls as we have time for, because I've still got a bunch of people on hold. But first of all, in Indiana, as we've talked about, there's no duty to disclose. So you got a gun in the car, you're in a traffic stop. A lot of states, it's crime not to tell the officer. And one reason to check things like the state law summaries on the U.S. Concealed Carry Association page, or I actually have an app on my phone that's just called CCW. If you look it up, it's like a map of the United States with a gun on top, and you can check the current state. Just click on it. It's got a GPS feature. It'll figure out where you are and tell you what the laws are in that area. And duty to disclose is just what it's called. It'll say yes, no. In that particular state, Indiana has no duty to disclose. So we start there. It's also important to know right at the get-go that the officer may very likely know if you have a license to carry handgun. The officer may very likely know that you have a license to carry before he or she even walks up to the window. Because in Indiana, your driver's license is linked to the database of driver's licenses, is actually linked to the license to carry handgun database. And what several officers will do, and different departments have different protocols on this, but a lot of officers will run your plate, see who the registered owner is, and then pull up the driver's license of the registered owner. Now, the registered owner may or may not be the driver, but often it is. And so a lot of police officers will run the plate and then run your driver's license. And when they run your driver's license, they are told, without even asking, a little ribbon comes across their screen in their car, or if they're calling dispatch, like back in the day, they're told you have a license to carry a handgun. So, for instance, I've had police officers, when they walk up to a window, just right off the bat, where's the gun? Now, this may also have something to do with the fact that my particular license plate says gun lawyer, so that may be a clue. But even if there wasn't a telltale sign like that, if they run your driver's license, not your plate, but your driver's license, they're told you have a license. So an officer can ask. And the Supreme Court of the United States says there's no violation. They can ask. You have no obligation to answer that question. You have no obligation to answer any questions during a traffic stop. Now, that may affect how that traffic stop goes, but you have no legal obligation to respond. And your failure to respond is not supposed to be probable cause or any reasonable suspicion of criminal activity that then justifies any further actions by the police officer other than just your failure or your refusal or your disinclination, we'll call it, to respond to a question. There are any guns in the car, any contraband in the car, you got illegal drugs in the car. I don't choose to answer any questions, officer. Now, again, that can very likely change the way the stop goes. And over and over and over again, I've seen police officers. And look, I've got friends who are police officers. The trial I just had, I was representing a police officer. I trained with a lot of police officers. A lot of good friends are cops, and a lot of them are very good people. But over and over again, I've heard this story. Well, they'll say, well, I smell marijuana, whether they really do or not. It's just a common ploy. I smell marijuana. I'm going to have to bring in the dog. And then they bring in the dog, and the officer will like tap different locations on the car, and then the dog barks or sits or whatever, how it's trained. And they go, oh, the dog alerted. Now I have probable cause to search a vehicle. And I think the dogs are trained to alert, quote unquote, when they're told to alert by the police officer. I think the whole process is BS. Not that there aren't great trained drug dogs out there. That's not my point. My point is, if the officer wants them to alert, I think they can make that dog do so. So you may run into a jerk police officer who puts you through that protocol. I would like to think most officers wouldn't do that, but unfortunately those bad apples do exist. But they can ask. If there's a gun in the car, you don't have to answer. So, and since there's no duty to disclose, it's up to you. You have the choice. Now, what I do is just exactly like what several callers have said, which is I just put my license to carry right on top with my driver's license, proof of insurance, and registration. And when the officers ask for my license, registration, I just hand them that. I don't say anything. Like one caller said, I don't say there's a gun. I just have my little pink card, my license to carry right on top. And in the 5 times I've been pulled over by police with a gun in the car, and I've done that, 4 of the times the police officer said almost identical things. They said, I take it there's a gun in the car. Yes, sir, there is. Where is it? And it was different places, various times. I say it's a holster on my right hip. It's in a holster I'm carrying appendix. It's in a safe in the console. And 4 of the 5 officers said almost exactly the same thing in response to me answering their question. They said, let's just leave it where it is, shall we? And one Carmel police officer who was really a good guy, he said, I'll make you a deal. And I said, yes, sir. And he said, you don't touch yours, I won't touch mine. I said, I like that deal. I can live with that deal. And we both chuckled and ended up having a great stop. He gave me a warning for 72 and a 45. Bless your heart. I love that guy. And in fact, I was wearing a tactical firearms training shirt. I was going to give a lesson, and the guy asked me about tactical firearms training. He goes, do you ever work with officers to help them qualify with their handgun? And I said, oh, yeah, I do that all the time. I go, you guys do the ILEA 48-round qualification course? He goes, yeah, we do that one. I go, hey, I got that memorized, man. You want to go spend a couple hours on the range before you have to requalify? I'll help you. You'll kick its ass. He goes, man, yeah, last time I had to do it, it didn't go very well, and all my buddies still tease me about it because I had trouble requalifying. I had to do it a couple of times. Like, oh, nope, I got you. So it was a great experience. I ended up helping him requalify with his gun, and I got a warning. And it went great. The 5th guy, so IMPD, happened right off Fall Creek Boulevard, pulled me over, and I handed him my license. And he looks at it, he goes, what'd you give me that for? I don't need that. And he hands it back to me. He didn't ask me about the gun, nothing. He goes, I don't need that. He acted like I was an idiot for even handing it to him. Now, again, I've heard horror stories, like I mentioned. One gentleman called my show several years ago and said he was just getting his driver's license out of his wallet. And the way his wallet was set up, you could see several cards exposed. There were different slots that were staggered. And his pink license to carry was in there. The officer saw that and pulled his gun and pointed it at him and said, Where's the gun? Where's the gun? Where's the gun? Just on the basis of seeing his license. So he's guy sitting there with a gun to his temple just because he had a handgun license in his wallet. That's probably why some old school folks like Greg Garrison, one caller mentioned, said, don't tell him because you could turn an easy stop into more of a hassle because you've injected a gun into the situation. So look, I understand both sides of the equation, but does the officer, and we need to take a break because we're going to have a very short last segment here, does the officer have the right to demand possession of your gun? That's the real kicker. That's what I'll get to after this next break. This is Guy Relford on The Gun Guy Show on 93 WIBC.
Tony Katz.
Let's now name all the things you would rather do other than move.
Gastro bypass surgery.
And I was just going to go for enema. Same body part, just from different angles.
Takes half as long.
This show is excellent, by the way.
I love it.
You know, we got nominated for a Marconi.
Oh.
We didn't get nominated this year. I don't see another one in our future.
It's like that Colts won Super Bowl championship. We'll always have that.
I was going to put up a finalist banner.
Tony Katz, mornings 6 to 9 on 93 WIBC and WIBC.com.
Guy Relford for Tactical Firearms Training. As I often mention, our most popular class is Essentials of Indiana Gun Law, and we've got one coming up a little over a month from now on November 9th. It's going to be at a Parabellum Firearms and Indoor Range. Great indoor range with a great gun shop, and they've got a nice, large, comfortable classroom, well lit, where we can teach Essentials of Indiana Gun Law. It's $50 for an individual, $95 for couples. We'd love to have you sign up. And this class always sells out, so don't wait too long. Go to tactical-firearms.com. If you're interested in 4.5 to 5 hours of the most important legal information for an Indiana gun owner, go to tactical-firearms.com, register for Essentials of Indiana Gun Law. Just click on upcoming courses at tactical-firearms.com.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed. Oh, yeah? Yeah, he's starting with the woots. Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
This October 10th through 20th, witness a race like no other. In Driven to Save Lives, a documentary that's more than just a story. It's a life-saving movement.
Driven to Save Lives is inspiration.
Fueled by the legacy of racing champion Brian Clausen, whose heart symbol on his driver's license became a beacon of hope. This film explores the powerful impact of organ and tissue donation in Indiana's racing community and beyond.
To hear Brian's heart beat again, I'll never forget that moment.
Join us for the world premiere event during the Heartland International Film Festival on October 12th at Newfields, or stream the film online.
What Driven to Save Lives does is gives all of us the opportunity to be Brian Clausen.
Visit driventosavelives.org for more information and tickets. That's driven, 2, savelives.org.
The deals and specials are sizzling hot. It's the Central Indiana Gun and Knife Show next Saturday and Sunday at the Stoutfield National Guard Armory on West Minnesota Street. The best dealers in the region, hundreds of tables, just $6 for adults, kids 12 and under free. Must be 18 or accompanied by an adult. Buy, sell, trade. Next Saturday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Sunday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Stoutfield National Guard Armory. For more info, visit CentralIndianaGunShows.com.
Attention all Hoosiers, a historically important election is headed our way. The time to prepare for the election is now. Are you registered to vote? Do you have a plan to vote? The Indiana Secretary of State's office wants to remind you, registering to vote or updating your registration is fast, easy, and can be done online at indianavoters.com. You must be registered 30 days before Election Day, so get registered and get out to vote. This message is sponsored by the Indiana Secretary of State's office.
Is your pet a digging enthusiast, an escape artist, or a counter surfer? Invisible Fence brand has you covered. For the wannabe landscaper, we've got a solution to keep them active but not destructive. For the escape artist, our personalized pet fences keep them safe and sound at home. Counter surfer? No problem. We know how to keep cheese thieves at bay. Invisible Fence brand. Tailor-made solutions for your pet, your yard, and your needs. Visit invisiblefence.com today.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at getethos.com. That's getethos.com.
Never miss your favorite shows on WIBC. Get your content to go.
Would you like fries with that?
Tony Katz, Kendall and Casey, Hammer and Nigel, Tony Kennett, The Gun Guy, Home and Garden. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. He's a Second Amendment attorney. He's an NRA certified firearms instructor. He's the Gun Guy, Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
And welcome back for what's going to be a very short segment. If you're on hold, I really apologize. I'm not going to have time to take any more calls. Call us back next week. Hey, we can revisit the story because I've still got several people on hold. But listen, here's the answer. Back in 2010, we had a case out of the Indiana Court of Appeals that kind of settled this area a little bit. It's called Washington v. State. And Melvin Washington got pulled over for something minor, like a headlight out or something. And he disclosed that he had a gun in the car and had his license to carry handgun. And the officer said, well, Mr. Washington, I'm going to have to take possession of your firearm for my safety during the traffic stop. And Melvin didn't consent to that. Because, by the way, you can always consent to any infringement of your constitutional rights. So you don't want to consent. But Melvin didn't. But the officer took Melvin out of the car, parked him on the curb, and then went back and searched the car so as to take possession of the gun for the officer's safety, quote unquote. And the Indiana Court of Appeals, and this is a Fourth Amendment issue, the Indiana Court of Appeals said, no, hold on. While an officer can search the area of a vehicle under the control of the driver and the driver himself if they have a reasonable suspicion of criminal activity, that's reasonable suspicion of criminal activity, or that the person's a danger to the officer, then the officer can do a search. But the mere presence of a gun by someone with a license who voluntarily discloses there's a gun in the car doesn't create that reasonable suspicion of criminal activity and doesn't create a suspicion that person's a danger to the officer alone. So for that reason, the search of Melvin's vehicle and the seizure of his gun was unconstitutional under the Fourth Amendment. Now, will you win that argument on the side of the road? No, but that's what the law says. This is Guy Relford on 93 WIBC.
This is the day of the big sale at your gift shop.
Welcome in.
So this isn't just a big day for your business. It's a big day for the network keeping it